everybody. It's good to see you. I hope that things are going okay for you guys. I know this is getting down to the nitty-gritty of what we do. And I thought maybe we could do a check-in and see where you guys are at. I don't have a whole lot planned in terms of lecture tonight. So I really want to know where you guys are at. How are you coming? Are you working on your letters? And this is kind of your time to like ask me about like what you're running up against. And I really want to talk about like what's going on inside of you as you go through this process, right? Because this is where it gets a little more undefined in terms of everybody's process is very different, right? So tell me where you guys are at, what's happening with yourselves, and how far you've been able to come with your letters. I know you're starting to work on some of the closures, and tell me about the homework. Like, how did you do with your homework? Anyway, so just check in with me and let me know what's going on. If you want me to turn the recording off, I'm happy to do that. Okay. Brenda, why don't you start with us?
Okay. I did a completion letter. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Awesome. Did you finish it?
I did.
You did. Okay.
Yes, yes. I
Okay.
don't know if you're
Well,
ready for it yet, but
tell
yeah.
us about your process with your letter. Can you tell us, like, how did that go? Was it easy for you to write in terms of you had all the components that you wanted to put together? Or did you feel
I
like it was a struggle?
I love having the form that you sent out of the book,
Mm-hmm.
where it has the apologies and the forgives and the SES. Yeah.
Right.
And then so I just kind of copy and paste that into a new file.
Okay.
And then I start dear
Mm-hmm.
whoever, and then I begin. It really helps me to have those.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and
Kind of.
so it was kind of weird because mine was is what could have been.
Yes.
What my future could have been. I could have named it different things. Anyway, so it's really awkward because it wasn't a person,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it was okay. I still feel like, well, was that really what I should have said, or should I have dug deeper and found something else?
Yeah, that's
But
that
I
being
just,
hard on yourself piece, right?
yeah, yeah. So I
Okay,
just went with what was coming up.
great. Do you want to share it with us?
Yes,
Do you want me to turn the recording off?
that'd be great.
Okay, I will do that. Okay, so I've got the recording back on. And so we were just recapping, just for those of you who are listening in, that for those of us who are here in our classroom tonight, we've completed our completion letters, and we had everybody had full participation. And so we are done with our program in terms of completing. If we have other students who have written completion letters and want to share, we're going to be here next week at the same time for our normal class so that others can share their completion letters. It's really therapeutic and important to not do this process on your own in private, in terms of reading your letters and allowing other people to experience this with you. That's a really important component to completing your pain and completing loss. So we're going to invite anybody who didn't get a chance to share this week to come back with us next week and share their completion letter. If people are done and it's just us, I'm going to be prepared to share a little bit about how processing our own grief can benefit our children and our families. Nancy, we're quite requested that, and I'm happy to do that. So I will do a little homework on mine. She's going to make me work harder, but that's okay. And then I will come back and share some of the things that I think will be helpful, and I'll give some ideas and some suggestions on how to approach those things. And then you guys can ask me from my perspective what would be most helpful. So we can go off book a little bit and talk about that so that you can deepen the relationships that you have with your families and have some healthy interchanges with them so that maybe they don't have to write completion letters that sound like ours, right? They get the chance while we're here to be able to, acknowledge things and we get the chance maybe even to acknowledge some of our own stuff with our own families. So yeah, I'm happy to do that. So anybody have any other questions or comments? Yeah, go ahead, Brenda.
So I thought of some other letters that I want to write. And do we need to do a timeline for each letter that we're going to write?
That's a great question. So like, let's take you, Brenda, right? So you've done this class twice, right? So your loss history graph, the one that has all of your losses, that's
Yes.
not going to look any different, right? You can add
Right.
things to it if you want to, like if things pop up. But yeah, you've already done that part. So say you're going to maybe process another loss. So maybe I'm going to process loss of the relationship I wish I had with my sister. Okay. Because that's something that I've never processed. I'm just using that as an example.
Mm-hmm.
And I've processed the loss with my dad, but the family dynamic had a huge impact on the type of relationship I can have with my sister. Okay. So what I would do is I would do a loss history graph just with the subject matter of my sister, my first memory of my sister up until now. Okay. That's going to kind of give you the components that you need. And then you go through the same process, right? Apologies, forgiveness statements, significant emotional statements.
Mm-hmm.
And then you use those to apply it and do a letter toward that loss, the loss of my sister, right?
Okay.
So you're kind of
Yeah.
shortening the process.
Yeah.
I would still encourage you to still do the relationship graph because it's going to be different depending on what loss you're paying attention to, right? And that is
Yeah.
of what we're doing, because you can take this tool and then you can create lots of different processes and letters for all kinds of different things. And keep in mind, it's the loss of a hope, dream, or expectation. So it can be anything that is significant to you. Nothing is too small. If it's coming to your mind, like the idea of my sister, like that just came to my mind. So it's kind of like, no, okay, I have some work to do. My mom is aging. I'm going to have a lot more interface with my sister. It's going to, our relationship, we aren't going to have the luxury of just playing nice, right? We're going to have some difficult interactions. And so it's good for me to do some of this work now.
Yes.
So that I'm
Yes.
prepared later for when I'm going to need to have more interaction.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as the Holy Spirit prompts you, I would encourage you to pay attention. So again, you free up that emotional energy so that you can not be triggered and be present.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And both my parents have died, and both of them were extreme tragic deaths. And
Yes.
and then, Kent's mom, it wasn't it wasn't extreme, but it was still
Yeah.
having to deal with family,
Yes.
and they're wonderful. My husband's family is a wonderful family, incredible how they worked together. But still, there were
Yes.
differences of opinion,
Yes.
and it
And
got really tough with some of that.
so when you have your letter done, I would encourage you to go to a trusted, confidential friend and read the letter to them.
Okay.
It's important to externalize your process. Just make sure that you find you have a friend that's safe and that will hold that with you,
Okay.
right? Because being able to verbalize it is really important.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else? No? Okay. Well, you guys are amazing, and I'm just so thankful for all of you taking a risk and being vulnerable. This is really hard stuff. And I know that you will be blessed as a result of all the hard work that you guys have done. I can see it on your faces. It's like, so glad that's over with. Everybody's shaking their head. And I'm curious next week. I'll be curious to see if you guys like felt a little lighter, felt a little more. You know what's interesting? It's so funny. I've noticed, even with my own work, it's so dumb. We have this new puppy, and I am so much freer with her. Like, I'm like treating her like she's my little baby. And I'm like, that's just not me. Like, that's just not the way I roll. But there's just something lighter. It must just be living in Texas. I don't know. But there is something more present about myself that I can feel on the inside. And I can't really explain it. So I'm curious to see if you guys experience yourself differently this next week. So, okay, guys. All right. Are we done? We're done, right? 6:30. I'm a little off on my times because I'm not in Texas right now. So
It's 8:30.
I'm used to be done at 8:30. So I feel like we have more time. All right, you guys. So
Thank
blessed
you.
to you. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Bye.
Bye,
Night.
guys.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Night.